Hey guys, welcome back to Outpost Review. It's overcast today. I've been working sawing up, or starting to saw up, some of the logs that we harvested from up there, the yellow pines that were all crooked and everything, and the wind's actually blowing right now, and you can see they're probably moving this far side to side, and they're top heavy, and they grow really tall, and they're crooked. Like I say, they don't have a really good root system. A lot of them, they end up going down in a windstorm. So I'm happy to get those cleared out. The other thing that I'm going to have to do, I probably should have never left the poplar next to the sawmill here. It's probably this big around, so I'm going to have to hook it off to a pole, or I'm going to have to hook it. So I'm going to have to hook it off with my block and tackle and pull it in a direction and saw it down, and it's going to come down with a boom because it's pretty tall, pretty big. But anyway, so this tree right here was really crooked. I cut off all of the outer material, and I ended up coming out with a 7.5 by 7. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it right down through the middle, 3.5 inches. That's a standard 2x4, and then I can cut several 1.5 inches out to 7.5 inches. So I should come out with some pretty decent top and bottom plates. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and fire the machine up, and we'll see what we can get out of this. I did get 10 13-foot 2x4s, and I think the two end sections are 12-foot 1, and the other one is like 12-foot 1 and 5/8, I believe. But anyway, that should be enough to do 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, several. I've kind of tossing around the idea of just using one bottom plate and one top plate, because my beams are actually supporting all the weight. The reason that you do a double top plate is because your roof, rests on that, and since I don't really have to worry about the support, I think I'm going to go ahead and do 2x4s on 2-foot centers and insulate accordingly. And then I also have to have some horizontal 2x4s to nail or screw my siding to, because I'm going to run vertical. So what I'll end up doing is putting a 2x4 horizontal on the outside, and then the 2x4s for the wall will go right behind that vertically. So instead of making my wall 3.5 inches plus 1 inch for my boards, and then a 1/2 inch on the inside for the sheetrock, which actually what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to use T111 exterior siding and put on the inside up 4 feet, and then I am going to sheetrock up the rest of the way. That way I can change colors on the inside and don't necessarily have to look at wood all the time, which makes it nice. So a lot of people wonder, why didn't you mill lumber for your floor since you've got timber? Well, I had thought about that. I would actually have to screw it down to my subfloor, and I would probably have to let it set for a year. And I'd have a bunch of half-inch cracks in there as it shrinks, because it is green. Then I'd have to fill it with sawdust and then pour a clear leveler on it and then seal that. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to purchase some half-inch plywood, and I'm going to screw it down. Well, I'll burn it first, screw it down, and then put a clear coat on top of that. I have seen some pictures of it, and it really looks nice, and it'll actually match all my theme up here. The other thing that, you know, like I said, I don't have time for them to dry out for a year before I actually put them down. And the same thing with these right here. I had some comments, doesn't that wood need to dry? Well, it's actually going to dry between now and the time that I start putting the interior in there. Once I get it nailed down to the floor and I get the siding on there, yes, it's going to have a little bit of shrinkage, but it's not going to really affect anything, because it's probably going to be 6 months or so before I actually begin to even start closing the interior in. So I'm doing it at my leisure, because I have a place to stay, I have a home. So yeah, these are actually kind of dry, because that tree, it was somewhat dying, so they're not actually too heavy at all. Now, one side did bend a little bit, but the other side ended up straight. So what I'll do in that case is I will use the one that's bent down on the bottom. That way I can line it up as I go along. And then the one that's on top, I'll just secure it to the top and then put my stick framing inside. And like I said, I'm not really sure if I can build these walls and stand them up myself since they're so long. We'll just have to see. I may try one, but I may end up going ahead and putting the bottom plate in, the top plate in, and just stick framing as I go. So anyway, let me get these loaded up. I'll be right back. Are you helping? Huh? Are you helping? Help? Huh? You want to help? Okay. Are you helping? Huh? What? Here. You want it? You want it? Did you get it? Huh? Did you get it? You want it? You want it? Did you get it? Right here. Right here. Come on. Right here. All right, come here. You want it? You want it? folks, as you can see, I made Smokey a bed the other day. Took some of the slab wood, put it on the sawmill, cut it down 8 inches, and then I took it out there and peeled the bark off of it. And then I took the new bit that my son got me for the angle grinder, which is convex shaped, and I actually did a really good job bringing these in together. This one I had to be careful because I've got screws right there, and I didn't want to go in too deep with them, but I was able to bring this other one down to actually meet this and kind of round off the edges. But it worked out really good. You're going to have a hard time chewing on that. Don't do that. No. No. Don't chew. Okay? But I think he's enjoyed his little bed. He pretty much slept in here while I was milling those 2x4s up. I did come in here and he was setting up and actually, I guess, listening and kind of halfway watching through the plastic because it's very difficult to see through. But he can hear me walking and he can see my shadow and things of that nature. But this should be big enough for him when he gets to be a larger dog. And then I just put this blanket in there because this nice pad that I got in here, I knew that once he gets bigger his little paws would be dirty, and I can actually take this blanket home and wash it where it'd be more difficult to take that pad home and do the same thing. But yeah, it really looks good using that slab wood. I'll probably go ahead and put some of that tung oil on here as soon as it dries out a little bit. What are you doing? Huh? Well, I'll get you one of your toys, okay? Hold on just a second. Where's one of your toys? Here. Here. Chew on that. Chew on that, little fella. He's a beast, I'm telling you. He's a monster. It's kind of hard to edit when I go home because he's all over the place. He's always wanting me to play with him, which I do take time out and play with him, but you know, I still have to edit videos and get them out to you all. But yeah, made a really nice bed, and I put a piece of this 1/2 inch OSB on the bottom of it, so that keeps the bed up off of the floor too. What are you doing? I see you. Well, hey guys, I wanted to talk just a little bit about, since I'm back here working on this timber frame, about some of the tools, if you're looking to do something like this, that you're going to need to do it old school. Now, I did use a circle saw to cut out my tenons, but you can do it this way, and I'll kind of explain as I go along. First of all, you're going to have to mark out and cut for your tenons. So you're going to need a good tape measure, of course, and you can use any kind of square that you want. I actually have one bigger, but those squares right there, those two I've primarily used the most. But once you get that mark on there, then what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to cut along however far your tenon is going to come back, and you want to score that several times, because what you're going to do is chip out from the end, and it just makes it easier to chip it out. Once you actually get it chipped out, then you're going to use something like this, which is called a slick, okay? And it's basically like a big huge plane. You're just going to go through there and you're going to plane it off and get it down smooth. Now, the other thing that you're going to need, like when you're working on the mortise side, you're going to need some sort of a drill. I actually used a router, but you can actually use a drill bit Forstner bit, anything to kind of get the bulk of the material out. And then you're going to need two types of chisels. This one is 1.5 inches wide, and it's actually 13 inches in depth, but that allows me to get down into a hole, work it out, and actually lift it out, a lot of the shavings. And then this right here is a corner chisel that's basically 90 degrees, and you're going to need this to straighten out your corners if you have 90-degree corners in your mortise. Now, you can do a rounded mortise, just like when I put the router in there and I went around and I routed it out. But then your tenon, you'd have to kind of 45 degree the corners on your tenon so that it could slide in there, and that's a possibility. I just made mine square, which a lot of people do. My neighbor, Lynn, the one that drives the Woo, he actually made these for me. These are made out of spring steel, and then I made the handles. These are dogwood handles, and if you can see, I'll show you what we did here on a couple of these handles. If the camera will focus on it. I'm sorry, the lighting is not too good, but he actually cut the steel and then just went up kind of to a point, but a little bit flat, and then came back down. Okay, so what we did was we slid a heavy-duty washer right down here on the end. Then we had to get a piece of metal rounded, and I actually mitered this off and cut it down to where it would slide in, because this thing is probably 1/4 inch thick. And then I slid that down in there and did the same thing, but used one a little bit lighter on this end. And what we did was we actually created a place that we can actually hit the end of it without damaging the wood. Now, a lot of people would leave that wood up a little bit and they would allow it to fray down, which is fine, but the handles, dogwood is a really hard wood. The handles turned out really well, and I just put these in there for design, really. No real purpose for those. But this chisel right here, the square or the corner chisel, and then the dogwood, the slick actually has a dogwood handle as well. And of course we had to put a great big end on this one right here, just so that your hand doesn't slip off, because you want to be able to hold it like this without your hand slipping off. And basically did the same thing right here. I'm sorry. Right here on the end. This one is just a little bit loose, but it's okay because it cannot go past this right here. But that allows you to be able to work this, and it doesn't actually move on you. It doesn't go forward, which would be very awkward if everything was slipping and moving around. This actually is 13 inches as well, and it's 3 inches wide. And you know what? I've never sharpened these, and they're still razor sharp. And I attribute that to it being made out of spring steel. The other thing that you're going to need, you've been seeing me use this a whole lot, because I've really learned to have a lot of fun with the slab wood. But you're going to need something that will peel bark off. Also, this is good for rounding corners and taking off a lot of material, because you're using your upper body, you're using both arms, and you always want to use the beveled side down. That allows you to be able to maneuver it and go deeper or more shallow. If you put the bevel side up, it's just going to dig down. You can't really choose the depth that you want to go. It'll just keep digging deeper and deeper. So when you're using one of these, always make sure that the bevel side goes down. Another thing that you're going to need is a smaller chisel. This is just a 1-inch chisel, and this was actually a cheap one that I bought. The handle broke. I made the dogwood handle, and made it pretty much the same as we made those others right there. And the other thing too is never let your blades touch the ground. I'm so picky about that. I've had people come up here and help me, and they would lay it down, touch the ground. I'd be like, don't do that, because they tend to stay sharper a whole lot longer if you don't touch the ground. Anyway, you're going to need something like this where you can get in smaller places instead of, and a much shorter handle as opposed to these big ones right here. But these are timber framing chisels specifically. But yeah, you're going to need one of these. The other thing that you're going to need is you use this little piece of machinery right here. Let's see if I can show it to you. See these little spikes right here? I'm sorry, it's so dark in here. You hold it up right there. See that little spike? Then there's another one right here. You can actually score your material, okay? And it's a lot finer than using a pencil, okay? This line right here, and this one you can adjust backwards and forwards if you need two of them, okay? But this is really handy to have, and basically you get this one where you want it, and then this right here will lock it down, and then you use this and then you pull it, along your material. Maybe if I can hold this up there, you see that dark line right there? That is where I scored it. And you want to take your saw and run along that line right there. It's a lot better mark that you can get instead of using your pencil. Then another thing that you're going to need, of course there's other tools that I just thought I would talk about a few at the moment, is something that you can actually make angles with and mark with. And this right here basically is just one piece or two pieces of metal, okay, that's got a screw in the end right here, and it actually locks in place right here, and I keep it hung up. But you can determine what your angle is, get that wherever your angle's at, or whatever it is that you want your angle at, and actually tighten that down right there. Then you can carry this back to wherever you're at, and you can mark your angle, okay? So this is a really neat tool to have, and it helps out a great deal. Haven't had too many, but I've had a comment or two about this angle iron. Why am I putting it in here? Well, my thought is, why not? You know, I have massive mortise and tenon. I've got those wooden pins in there, and that's how this structure is actually held together. But I decided as I began to start to build up, I thought, you know what? I can't remember how I got the idea. I was looking at something, and I thought, well, I wonder how much the angle iron is. And it was actually only $200, pretty much, for me to buy this 3x5 angle iron, and along with the 3x3 angle iron. Now I've determined that I'm going to need another piece 60 inches long, which is the 3x3 to cut up. There's still a few. I didn't take into consideration the purlins. I got everything, the main part done. I forgot about the purlins when I was over there counting it up. But I'll need a piece that's 6 foot long so I can cut a couple more, and then I need a 12-inch piece because I'm lacking 2 of the large plates. But then that will get my purlins, my all of my joints on the bottom, all of the joints on the upper level, all of the center beam that goes all the way across on the top, and all the purlins. And this thing will actually be locked down with angle iron and bolts as well. and I kind of like that machine rough look. I think that it added actually a little bit of character to it because you're going to be able to see that. Of course, now I've still got to get up here and put this tung oil on because we didn't do the upper beams and so forth, and there's a piece or two of bark that's actually falling off that I had left on there. I was hoping that it would stay on, but it actually came off. So I'm going to have to get the torch in here, and I'll end up torching a few places so that it's primarily all black. The parts that you're going to see. Now the posts on the exterior walls that are going up, these center beams you'll be able to see, but you want to be able to see the face sticking out on the inside and then a little portion of the lip going around the corner. Everything else is going to be covered by my walls. But you'll be able to see all that up there because the ceiling is actually going to get insulation, and it's going to get that radiant barrier, and then I'm going to have the tongue and groove on the bottom side of that. So the roof is actually going to become my ceiling. So you'll be able to see all of these posts and everything from here on the inside. So I think it's actually going to look pretty cool by being able to see those joints right there. And I'll tell you another thing too. That will help to keep it from racking back and forth. I decided against putting in my knee braces. What I'm going to do is, because I would have to mill out a whole bunch of those, and then you really wouldn't see them anyway because the wall would be built around it, kind of, so to speak. So what I decided to do is when I build my exterior walls, I'm going to use 2x8s, and I'm going to miter those in or cut those in the 2x4 that will take the place of the knee braces. It's actually a knee brace, but it'll be built into the wall. So it will serve the same purpose. And then this angle iron will just be the same thing. It will help to keep it from racking because I've got the bottom done, I've got this portion done, and then I'll have the purlin and the center beam done, and there's no way that that's going to move back and forth. So, you know, I kind of been flying by the seat of my pants as I've been going here. I had ideas and then I kind of changed them midway, but you know, I had the plan in my head to work from the bottom up, but as I go along I can see places maybe where I can work a little bit more efficiently and make things a little bit better as I go, because I have built 2 homes prior to this one. This is my first timber frame. This one's been a learning experience, and I don't think that I would do another one. It's much easier building a conventional home, modern home. But this has been fun. I always like a challenge, and this has been a challenge. But the timber frame, it took up a lot of material, but you know, it's going to be here to last. And that's another reason that I decided to go ahead and add those, so that it will just be strong, sturdy, and it will be here to last. So, but like I say, I didn't intend to put those in, but since the cost was so cheap, and the added benefit that I would get from it, I decided to go ahead and add those in there. So, yeah, and I actually kind of like that masculine look to it. This is my new buck stove that I actually found for $550. My grandfather used to be a dealer for these when he was alive. I think this is an older model. His was built a little different. I'm going to have to build a foundation to put it on. Probably I'll bring it up about 8 inches. That way it doesn't sit quite on the floor. This Durock is for the stone that I'm going to set, which will be a pad. I'll put 2x2s around it, and then this thing will be elevated so that it's not sitting, because it's going to get hot in the wintertime, and it's not sitting and heating this up too bad right here. But anyway, let me open this up. I actually have the little tiger light mounted inside here, which is really nice to have. But before I take it out, I cut these fire brick earlier today. If you want to see all the work and stuff on this, if you're new to this channel, You can go to our main channel, Smoky Mountain Outpost, and you can see all the work that's being done up here. But I wanted a means to be able to burn wood and use my natural resources that I have available here. And I also wanted to be able to have something that was flat on the top that I could actually cook on. So this will allow me to be able to kind of do both of those. The flue is 8 inches, which I stopped at the lumber yard today and I looked at flues, and there's a lot of 6-inch, there's 4-inch, there is 10 and 12, but I may have to get a reducer for that to make it 6 inches, or depending on, you know, what size I want to go with. But if I can find the 8-inch, that will be a good draw for it. Anyway, but yeah, I got 10 fire brick, and I actually cut those out, put those in there. The guy that I got it from, he says, "Oh, a buck stove doesn't need fire brick." Well, maybe it doesn't, but they're in there. I put them in there. I think what I'm going to do is put a little bit of sand in the bottom. That way kind of level them up really good. Because right here in the center, this one is just a little bit wobbly because of the fact that there's a little hump in the metal. But I don't think it's going to hurt anything, and honestly, it'll probably get all seated down in there with ash and everything. It wouldn't move anyway. So I may not do it. But yeah, this little tiger light, I'll tell you what, guys, this is really nice. You can see how bright it is. Of course, that's on the lower mode, but I mean, check this out. You stick it anywhere you want to. You can stick it on the side of the door. You know, they're really nice to have. So what I did is I just mounted it on the inside to have light in there to measure and cut all those fire brick in there. But it's got new seals. The fan, they hooked it up to power. The fan's working, which actually blows out over here, because this is actually 2 stoves in one. There's one a little bit smaller in here, so there's a dead air space around. So when the internal portion gets heated up, the dead air, it gets heated up, and then the fans push it out, and it just keeps circulating it. So it's got 2 speeds, high and low on it. And then, what? What do you want? Huh? What do you want? What do you want? You want me to pet you? This portion right here, you can actually take this insert out and actually have glass in there, which I don't have, but it wouldn't be hard to get some made. So what I may do is just take that panel off and go have them make me some that's like that, and that way I can put the glass in there and actually be able to see the fire. The other thing too is I've got my vents down here, and then the doors shut just like that. So yeah, really nice stove, 550 bucks, solid, weighs 400 or 500 pounds. It took 4 of us and to get it in here. But yeah, really nice stove, and I was actually looking for one because, like I said, my grandfather used to be a dealer, so I grew up with one of these, and they really are worth the money. So this is the new addition to the cabin, and as soon as I get it, I'm just going to put it on blocks for the time being, but once I get it set in here, then I need to get some material to go up through the roof for the flue, and then we should be rocking with some heat in here. Well guys, I hope that you enjoyed this episode of the Outpost Review. What I intended to do, and I told my son, I said I'm just going to start taking the tools little by little, kind of going through and giving you some idea of what I worked with and how I did it. There's a lot of different ways that you can do the different things that I'm doing up here. I'm no master carpenter or even a shade tree carpenter. I've just, you know, built my own structures before, and I can do enough to get by. And my disclaimer is, you know, this nor our main channel is a how-to channel. There's plenty of tutorials on YouTube that you can find to teach you, the proper way of doing things. But I'm in an undeveloped area. There's no inspections. I can do things the way I want to do it and how I see fit, and that will work and fit into my budget. So that's what I'm doing. But anyway, guys, thanks for stopping by and supporting us. Don't forget about the giveaways on this new channel. If you're new here, our main channel is Smoky Mountain Outpost. Go there. You can check out all the work that's being done here at the Outpost on all the different structures. Anyway, we want to wish everyone a great afternoon. Thanks for tuning in. Everyone take care. We look forward to seeing you back up at the Outpost again next time.